From the heated debates on how best to divide newly discovered uninhabited lands to the grueling labor of clearing them for settlement, and finally the effort required to make them suitable for farming. This is the story of how African societies managed to settle after immigration without falling into destructive disputes. When fertile lands, rich in soils, pasture, and water were finally discovered, a great challenge arose: how to fairly share the land among those who had found it. On the surface, equal division seemed the most reasonable solution, but fairness was not that simple. Not every man had the strength or resilience to clear and defend his portion from wild predators. To avoid quarrels, the elders devised a remarkable method of land allocation, one that was simple, symbolic, and above all, acceptable to all. The solution lay in an old African weapon, the club. Carved from the branch shoot of a sturdy tree, this heavy tool was once a trusted weapon of defense against wild beasts and raiders. Each club was unique. No fixed size, weight, or design. Only the strength of its wielder mattered. In this new context, however, the club would serve not as a weapon, but as a measure of justice. A single club was chosen as the standard. Each man, in turn, would hurl it with all his might in the 4 cardinal directions. The distance it landed in each direction marked the boundaries of his land. Though primitive in appearance, this method spared the community from the modern problem where one man may hoard thousands of hectares while others live as squatters. It ensured balance, responsibility, and peace. From the rich alluvial soils of rivers, they molded primitive axe heads. These were carefully air-dried to prevent cracks, then baked in fire until hardened. Though the science was unknown to them, the soil contained traces of iron, and when heated to the right intensity, the particles fused, strengthening the clay axe. Once tested for durability, it was fitted onto a wooden handle, often made from strong indigenous trees. Even with such tools, felling massive trees remained an overwhelming task. So, the people relied not only on their tools but also on strategy and teamwork. The true challenge lay in transforming the wild bush-covered terrain into habitable ground. In those ancient days, there were no iron axes, no chainsaws, and no modern machines. The forests were filled with colossal trees, some standing for centuries, so massive they seemed impossible to bring down. Their approach was to weaken, not fell, the giants. The people had one priceless quality: unyielding resilience. They cut deep into the trunks, reaching the xylem at the core, leaving the trees unstable. Moving from one to the next, they repeated the process, careful not to weaken any tree too much for fear of sudden collapse. After hours of exhausting labor, they turned to nature for the final strike. When storms arrived with fierce winds, the weakened trees toppled. One fall would trigger another, creating a powerful chain reaction. Like a wave, trees crashed in succession, clearing vast stretches of land in a single night. Smaller trees snapped under the force, while some sturdy giants still stood, demanding a second round of clearing. Once the forest lay in ruins, the people began the painstaking process of removing the fallen logs. Branches were chopped and arranged to mark temporary boundaries of each man's plot. Slowly, spaces opened for homesteads. Yet another step remained, transforming the cleared land into fertile fields. The ground was left to dry under the sun, and fire was set to consume the dried shrubs, branches, and stubborn undergrowth. Flames swept across the land, leaving behind fertile ash that enriched the soil. What had once been an impenetrable forest was now ready for the first seeds. From there, farming became easier, and with each season, the communities moved closer to sustainable agricultural life. Thus, through ingenuity, resilience, and cooperation, African societies not only discovered new lands, but settled them peacefully, ensuring that no man was left landless and no community was left divided.